And I'll stop there again. This is kind of like a cool thing that I don't know if people know about. The Wisconsin Bankers Association, as well as like the National Bankers Association, they had like their own private detective agency.
Oh, really? They'll go in and investigate these things and stuff?
Yeah, because here's like the thing. So the local police, they investigate these bank robberies. But what happens like once these bandits who are like traveling around the state or around the country, like once they leave Green Bay, what are the Green Bay detectives going to do about it? You know,
No, they don't.
They're kind of limited.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, bank robbery is not a federal crime yet. So the FBI has no interest in this. Like, soon they will. Mm-hmm. Like, because of all the craziness in the 1930s, that's when the FBI starts getting involved. But at this moment, they're not. The banks actually developed their own nationwide detective service where they collected photographs of known bank robbers so they could travel around and show people, like, did this look like the guy? Kind of a neat thing that...
And then I assume if they find one of these people, they just go to the local police department is and say, let's go pick them up or whatever? Or how?
Yeah. I mean, the detectives, like, they would have no authority to actually, like, arrest anybody, but they didn't have the limitations that a police department had. You know, like, they could travel freely. Yeah, they went around and they'd have, like, these little flip books full of known suspects and identifying things about them and things like that. So it was just kind of a cool little thing they did to kind of fill in the gap between local police and the lack of the federal police at this point. Mm-hmm. Kind of neat. Don't know if people knew that there was an actual bank detective agency, but there was.
And it makes sense. I mean, that they would do that.
Yeah.
That they were fixing a problem that the government was ignoring, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. Banking, like, was a really weird thing because also... This is 1931, so like this is like just after like the Depression hits. I don't think at this point like the FDIC existed yet either, because that's another thing that came out of the Depression. Was like not only did bank robbery become a federal crime, but money being insured became like a thing.
When was this happened? When did FDIC? Did you say?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know off the top?
I don't know exactly, but it was a response to the Depression, like after the banks collapsed.
Okay.
That's when it came in and money being insured became a thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what year that went into effect, but just like at this point in time, like it was a big deal for banks to track down and get their money back. Because there was if the money was gone, it was gone. Mm-hmm. Like, there was nothing you could do about it. If your money was in that bank, you were kind of screwed.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And you think about how regulated banks are today, and it sounds like back in this era, there was just really nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, no protections, nothing for people. It was just like, I mean, I would have been putting my money under a pillow.
Right, yeah. I mean, if you had money in the bank and the bank got robbed, you're not necessarily like out that money. Like the bank still owes you the money. But if it reaches the point where the bank goes under, well, then you're probably not getting your money
back. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's understandable why some people did not trust banks. It's not even the bank's fault. It's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The next day's Green Bay newspaper said that 2 men were arrested in connection with the bank robbery. But the report was a bit premature. 2 young men were detained for being drunk and not having a good story to explain why they were in northeast Wisconsin when they were actually from St. Paul, Minnesota. But it was very easily determined that these were the wrong men. They were much too young and just not the gangster type. But this is the thing, like...
The gangster type, I like that.
Yeah. So 2 guys from St. Paul were in the Green Bay area... drunk, and that was so suspicious.
Just that they're like, you must be the bank robber.
Yeah. There's no reason that 2 guys from St. Paul would be drunk in Green Bay. So the newspaper had to backtrack on that one. 7:00 that evening, the city had their regular city council meeting, presided over by Mayor John Diener, a Notre Dame Law School graduate and World War veteran. A proposal to fund 4 additional police officers came up, as well as modernizing the police radio system. And to be clear, this was already on the schedule prior to the bank robberies. This was not a response to the bank robbery. 5 aldermen spoke out against this idea, saying the city just did not have the funds for such a thing. This greatly upset Alderman Clement Dwyer, known as Dutch Dwyer. And Dutch Dwyer was a minor celebrity because he had previously played for the Green Bay Packers.
Did you mention him in the last part of this?
I don't think so.
I feel like we talked about somebody that was a Green Bay Packer at one point in time.
I don't know. Everybody was a Green Bay Packer.
Yeah, back then, everybody in Green Bay played for the Packers.
Yeah. He went into a big speech, and he used the bank robbery as the very reason that the funds were necessary. Even if the city couldn't afford it, they should make the improvements anyway. He was persuasive, and the measure passed. It was a big step forward for the Green Bay Police Department. Not just getting the 4 additional men, but actually getting cars that could connect by radio with each other. Like, that's a pretty big deal. Like today, that seems so incredibly basic and simple, but imagine that, like going out on patrol and until you go back to the station, having no idea what was going on anywhere else in town.
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah. Gus Deloy was sent to the Mayo Clinic, where he was treated by Dr. George Searing. An x-ray there showed that the .45 bullet was lodged between his left eye and his skull. Removing the bullet was too risky. The eye would have to be removed. It was beyond saving. If the eye wasn't removed, the other eye could get, quote, sympathetic inflammation and begin to deteriorate as well. I don't know anything about this, but apparently the idea was that if your one eye is like terribly injured, your other eye
adjusts itself too.
Yeah, starts adjusting and goes bad because of it. I don't know if that's real, but that's what they thought would happen. Maybe it's real. I don't know.
No, I don't know.
That seems pretty bad. If you lose an eye, your other eye just starts going, but maybe.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The surgery was a success. Reportedly, Deloy recovered faster than expected, but he was an emotional wreck. Losing an eye, he thought, was going to change his life completely. His glass eye soon arrived, but did not boost his spirits very much.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same. He returned to work.
God, and he still continued on, man.
On September 1st, 1931, which is about a month and a half after this.
That guy is a trooper.
Yeah. However, the city argued that his eye meant that he wouldn't be able to do as much work as before or be as efficient, so they cut his pay by 25%.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. He hired legal counsel and filed a complaint to the Wisconsin Industrial Commission. The legal papers cited Deloy's impressive record and revealed an unusual fact. Since he had been hired on as a police officer on May 1st, 1916, he almost never took a day off. Not even Saturdays or Sundays. He worked all weekends. He never took vacations. He had one time worked every single day for a 10-month stretch without a day off. Which I get the point here is to show that like this guy is like the most loyal possible officer and good. But seriously, people do not work 10 months straight without a day off.
Yeah, no kidding.
Do not do that. He, not surprisingly, wins his case at the state, and they're like, "Yeah, dude, you can't cut his pay because he got injured on the job." Like you're gonna reward this guy for getting shot by cutting his pay?
Yeah,
the state was definitely not okay with that.
It's really ballsy that Green Bay even tried to do that. Like, somebody must have looked at and said, "Hey guys, I don't think that's really fair."
Yeah. I get their argument because I clearly at this point he's going to be doing more desk work than anything else. Like I get it. Wow.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's
you really feel appreciated,
Yeah.
But anyway, after this, they changed their mind. The state said, you got to pay him, and he ended up staying a cop until he retired at age 70. So,
God, I hope nothing else ever happened to him.